So this is a course, and as you can see on your screen, it's about object-oriented PHP. And before we start, maybe I will start by making sure that you really understand what object-oriented PHP is. And I'm sure you have searched in the YouTube and you've come across this course about object-oriented PHP. And this is the best course that I can assure you that it will help you understand what is object-oriented PHP if you don't know, and some of its vast advantages that are there when coding using object-oriented PHP. Now I'll start by maybe mentioning some of the advantages of object-oriented PHP, and the first one here, as you can see, it is most companies want OOP developers. This is because object-oriented developers are the best. I mean, they offer the best code ever, and if you really want a job in any company, then you'll be more than willing to learn object oriented in PHP, because every company is looking for somebody who can do object oriented. So the second advantage is the code is clean, efficient, easy to read, maintain, and extend. So as we will continue learning object-oriented PHP, you will get to really see these characteristics, and you'll really get to enjoy, and you'll never wish to go back to procedural PHP. So it also saves time because of easy collaboration. Now with coding object-oriented PHP, you can for example, you have a project that you are doing, and of course time is money, so you'll have to share that code with other friends of yours or other mates, so that you can code, I mean, you can do the application as fast as possible. So if it might happen that you are coding using procedural PHP, then it might not be possible to share this code amongst two people, and it will be very hard to save on time on this project, and it might take forever to complete this project. And that's why we are here with object-oriented PHP. So you'll ask me what is required for me to do object-oriented PHP. Now it's only one. You should have a basic understanding and knowledge in procedural PHP. Some of you maybe might not be knowing what procedural PHP is. Now, procedural PHP is whereby you write a single page PHP, or it can be several pages but with includes. Now, these are the disadvantages of procedural code. For example, you have a code whereby you need to give the names of specific users to maybe a user who has logged in. Now that code will be present in one page of your file, and when you need this particular code in another file, then you'll have to copy that code and paste it on that other file so that you can be able to use it again on the other file. Now on the other end, in procedural programming, it is a code which is built around objects, properties, and methods. And in this, you'll be able to create your methods in maybe classes that you'll use to instance the objects, in which now you'll be able to reuse code over and over again if you are required for a particular if you are required to use a particular piece of code in more than one page. It will be very easier using procedural PHP than using it will be much easier to use object oriented PHP than using procedural PHP. Now there are always three things that are involved whenever you are coding in PHP. And of course, when we hear about PHP, we all think about web programming. Now, the first thing that is always involved is that we query the database that we are connected to it. Now, there must always be a file that is connected to the database, and it is constantly querying our database for each and every request that we get, either from the user or from anybody who might find it useful to use this system that we are currently developing. So that's why we should be having this one thing, and it's about querying the database. So the next thing that we always do is handle data submitted by users. For example, we need a user to register in our system. We need a user to feed some data about themselves or about things that they own in this particular company. We also have to show some data to the users, and we always do this in all the system. In any system that you enter, there must be some data for you to be shown on the system, and most of this data is dynamic and it is coming from the database. Now, with object-oriented programming, it has come to dawn to us that it will be the easiest way to be able to combine these three things into one project by dividing these particular files into separate files so that they can be handled seamlessly and in the best way possible. And with procedural programming, it won't be easy to achieve this one big thing that we call the MVC model. This MVC model, it is very much popular with PHP. And if I will explain the initials, we have the model, we have the view, and we have the controller. So in the model, this is where all the database querying and everything that is about the database is done. And this is the only class in PHP or in the web code that knows about the database. There is no any other code that is allowed to know about the database. Then we have the views, and the views, this is what is presented on the user on the front end, that is on the browser. And we have the controller, it is the one that connects the model and makes sure that they can request for data from the user, and they can also send data from the user, and they can also give data back to the user. Now, there are two models which are involved in this MVC model, and I will explain the two of them. And if I may start, we have the first one, which it involves the model. And as I have explained, the model is the one which knows what is happening in the database. It's the one that connects the whole system to the database, and it's the one that holds all the data that's supposed to enter into the database or come out into the database. Then now we have the view. Now, the view, as I have explained, it is the one that is supposed to show the data to the user after it has been queried. And then we have the user, of course, is the one who feeds the data into the view and also gets the data uh, from the view through the controller. Now, in this model, there is one thing that I like uh, to show out. We have the controller, that is the one which gets the data from the model and feeds the view. Now, in the next model that I'm going to show you, it's a little bit different from this one. We have the model, we have the view, we have the user, and we have the controller. Now, the view and the controller, they both have access to the model, and they get and or feed data directly to the model without involving each other. In the previous one, we had the view depending on the controller to get any data from the model. In this new one, we are actually having the view and the controller being dependent, and I mean being independent, and they both connect to the model directly. And this is what we are going to concentrate with in this tutorial. Don't get confused. I know this one might be confusing you, but I promise you, as we continue coding, you'll get to understand more what this means. Now, it happens that Laravel, being the framework of PHP, it greatly makes use of this model, whereby the controller is the one that controls, I mean, gets the data to the view and gets the user the data from all of them getting, I mean, the controller being able to give data to the view, receive data from the user, and all this data is being sent or retrieved from the model. So that marks the end of this introductory part on object-oriented PHP. I will see you guys in the next class, where we will start coding, and we will start by creating a class and instantiating those classes that we will be creating. So until then, have a nice time.